Hey everybody, welcome to the show. I'm Jeremy Ray.
And I'm Jackson Ray, filling in for Christy Schellenberger.
Welcome to Last Call for Plastisol. Cheers. Well, Jackson, thank you for filling in for Christy today.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you for having me.
What you drinking today?
Today I'm drinking, it's by Original Sin. It's the Black Widow cider. And it's like got an apple thing going on, a little hint of blackberry. I'm digging it, honestly.
Yeah, and I'm drinking Edmund's Oast cereal for dinner. It says it's a blonde ale brewed with almonds, vanilla, lactose, and coconut. It literally tastes like a Honey Bunches of Oats beer.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird, but kind of good at the same time. It's different. I don't mind it. It actually has a strawberry taste of it, weirdly enough. So, but Christy's not here. Christy took her family to the beach.
Fun.
And she had recently gotten married, and so she was gonna one last hurrah before school starts. I don't know about you guys where you're at, but school starts a little bit earlier this year for some reason.
Yeah.
And so it's the end of July, and we're talking about going back to school. But before we hop into the show, I want to quickly go over our sponsors. And so we're just going to talk about the people that help us sponsor the show. Jackson, I know you've never done this before, but Blue Ridge Screen Products is one of our sponsors.
Yes.
What's your thoughts about Aaron and the gang over there?
Aaron's great because whenever I have a question about inks or really any product that we use, he's got a wealth of knowledge, and so there's a lot of support coming from him. I'd put my name on anything that he can provide.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Aaron's got a special going on. If you use the code LASTCALL10 at checkout, you get 10% off. And he does ship, you guys that aren't local to North Carolina region. Another great sponsor that we have, a top shelf sponsor, is Monarch Ink, and we're sitting right in front of the ink table. So I always talk about it. What's your thoughts on Monarch Ink, Jackson?
Well, I've never really had an issue with Monarch, and I guess that that sells itself. You'll see here in a couple minutes, Ken refers to screen printing as just controlled chaos, and if you can eliminate all the different craziness, the variables, it's a solid product, and I have no problem promoting that.
And Jackson prints on that every day.
Every single day.
And then last but not least, our PMI tape is a sponsor. And come on, what can we say about PMI tape that we haven't already said?
Right. I mean, we use a lot of PMI
We use a
tape.
lot of PMI tape. They are really the best in the industry. Yeah. So please check out all of our sponsors. I'm really looking forward to this episode. Did you have a good time?
I had a phenomenal time. My goodness, I didn't realize I was gonna, have so many big takeaways. But I mean, Ken, you can really learn from him, whether it be his, his story or his approach, his attitude as a business owner. Phenomenal guy.
So without further ado, let's hop into that episode. Well, we got today a special guest with us. Where are you located, Ken?
We're in Cornelius, North Carolina, just north of Charlotte.
Cornelius, North Carolina. And this is Ken Brock. And Ken Brock is from Rod Tees and Your Logo Wear. Mm-hmm. And your Logo Wear is your kind of standard print shop. And then Rod Tees is your online store, right?
Online store and online print shop, yeah.
Online print shop, cool. Well, welcome to the show, Ken. And
Thanks.
As I mentioned before, Jackson's filling in for Christy.
Hey.
So, we just want to kind of jump in. And so if you could just give us an idea of, how long you've been in the business. That's a good question to start with. How long have you been in the business?
Been in the business since 1988.
1988.
Yeah.
And so that's a long time.
Yeah.
Jackson wasn't born yet.
Not even close.
So 1988. And where did that start? Give us the story.
It's a kind of a semi-long story. I'll try to make it quick. My wife and I were dating at the time, and we used to rent videos all the time. So I said, we should start a video store. So we each scrounged together some money, very little money, started the video store, started doing good, and a guy next to me, where our shop was, where our video store was, he had a little Team Spirit store kind of in the front selling Chargers and Padres merchandise, but in the back he had a business where he was doing custom lapel pins, embroidered patches, hats, and things like that. He wasn't doing any of the work in-house. And I had mentioned to him, I said, man, I've got some people I think that would be good customers for you. And he said, well, I'll pay you a commission. So I said, okay, cool, I'll start working for you. The video store was doing well enough to where, I could afford to do that and pay somebody to work at the video store instead of standing at the counter all day during the slow time of the day. Got some good accounts, a couple of really big accounts actually, and then they were reordering and I found out he wasn't paying a commission. I hadn't signed a non-competition, and I said, okay, either pay me my commission or I'm going to go start my own business, which I wound up doing. And I was basically doing the same thing as he was. I was importing lapel pins and patches, and ironically, we don't even do that anymore. But during that time, my customers started saying, hey, it'd be great if you guys could do T-shirts. And so I said, okay. And then during that time, the America's Cup was in San Diego, and I came up with a little design for that. Went to the local screen printer and had him do some shirts, and we were selling at the Embarcadero in San Diego, which is where they had the big parade. And we sold a ton of shirts that day, and wound up being invited to sell more at the local Bank of America in their lobby. Yeah. Because the trophy was going to be on display for a few weeks. And I went back to that screen printer. He said, I don't want to do that order again. That was a lot of work. I'm like, oh wow. So I literally talked to my friend, and we went up to Raynar up in LA, bought equipment the next day, brought it down, a little 4-color press, flash cure, and a little tiny dryer, and started printing them ourselves.
Right.
And did that for that month, made some decent money, and said, well, hey, there's a business here. Because you know how it is. You start thinking all the people that could use T-shirts, and literally in this business, as all you guys know, everybody's a potential customer. Right. And it kind of went from there, and that's when I started Marketing Works, which was our company out in San Diego. So
Marketing Works came how long after you started? So your video store ended up not, like, you just got rid of that, right? Or
sold it to my brother-in-law.
Okay. And then so Marketing Works, so after starting that, so you're saying 1988 is when you started Marketing Works?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So before that was the video store. Mm-hmm. And what was the event? Was that an automotive related event, or was that?
No, it was the America's Cup, the big yacht race.
The yacht race. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
And Dennis Conner from San Diego won, so it was a big hometown hero kind of thing.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. That to be able to just go to an event and see that potential. It's see a need, fill a need, and right. That's basically how most entrepreneurs get going, is see a need, fill a need. And so how long did you end up staying in California?
We stayed in California until 2010. We bought back here in 2005, and then got back to California, like I was telling you earlier, and my wife decided she didn't want to move, so we stayed there another 5 years, and then sold the business there to some good friends, and came here and basically started with a few customers that I had. By then I was getting a few customers online off of some message boards and stuff that I was participating in the hot rod niche.
Okay. And so were you a manual shop back then?
Yes.
In California?
No, we had an automatic too, but
did you?
It was a boat anchor, and we rarely used it.
Okay. The technology in the, I guess, in early 90s probably wasn't as where it was now as far as like screen printing equipment goes, right?
It was horrible. And in the hot rod and motorcycle niche, almost everything you print is a black shirt. Okay. So it just wasn't really great for doing, 6-color design on black.
And that was strictly screen printing at that point, right? There was no direct-to-garment, anything going on.
No direct-to-garment. Vinyl cutting was just starting.
Oh, wow.
I'm old enough and have been in it long enough that I started out with a stat camera, shooting film positives of line art that I would draw, and then hand cutting the ruby lith for color separations.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was tedious. In San Diego, it's a real dry climate, and static electricity, and if you've ever cut ruby lith, at the end of the day, you'd have just shreds of it all over you, and you couldn't get it off because of the static.
So was that water-based, or was that?
No, it was just Plastisol.
Plastisol? Okay. Yeah, because I know West Coast is known, like, they say that water-based has been around forever in the West Coast, but it seems to be.
Yeah, a lot of my friends that had shops over by the beach where it's a lot more humid, they could do water. But we were up in the hills in this little town called Ramona, which is a suburb of San Diego, and it's dry. Yeah. It's really dry.
This is fascinating, because hats off to you for even sticking with it after having to hand cut separations.
Okay. It was crazy. The stat camera thing, because the chemistry would go bad all the time. And that thing was a boat anchor too. And it's funny. I've sold more heavy, useless junk over the years that becomes obsolete.
Yeah, it's it's ironic to see, like, you know, our last guest on the show, he's wanted by the Turkey government. He's like, he was afraid to be kidnapped and all this other stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought I had problems. I'm sitting here complaining about the small things, you know, in life and at the shop, and he's worried about getting, you know, taken hostage for, you know, and just all this stuff. And I'm like, and now, you know, you hear the stories of the way it used to be. And now, like, I'm like upset that I'm still using film after 7 years. I'm like, I can't believe I'm still using film. I need a laser, or I need a direct to screen or whatever. to stick with it for what, 30 years?
35 years.
35 years. Wow. You probably have a lot of stories, a lot of horror stories, a lot of
not as many horror stories as you'd think. I think you learn after one or two mistakes to start being cautious. But like I was just saying to Jackson, that there's days when you're doing a job, or somebody's doing a job in the shop, and you're like halfway through, like, oh, I got to check that.
Yeah.
Make sure it's right. You get that little panic thing, you know. It's just like, you know, the old story, did I leave the oven on before I left the house, you know.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with screen printing. And I don't know how many times any of you have driven back to the shop in the middle of the night making sure the flash gears were off, you know.
Yeah, we had somebody leave the heat on, like turn the belt off on the dryer without cutting off the heat, and just about melted it. So,
but why is it so hot in here?
Why does it smell weird?
Yeah.
But so at this point, so you're printing on a manual and an auto, doing mostly Plastisol. So, I mean, was that a gradual build from there on, or was there like a big leap where you're like, okay, wow, there's potential here for some serious growth?
Yeah, I think in any business, you know, you sit there and you have to think about where my customers going to come from. And now we were in San Diego, at least, we were one of the first shops that had a retail storefront. You know, we went ahead and located in a strip mall that had a big space and had our printing in the back. So we've always had a lot of walk-in, you know, clientele, which, as we all know, that can sometimes be great, and sometimes on the hectic day when it's the person that wants one shirt that wants to take an hour of your time up, you know, that can be tough. But no, it kind of just built from there. And you know, for a long time it was status quo, but very shortly in, okay, yeah, we got to get some embroidery, because people were requesting embroidery. And it's like when we had the video store. When we first started out, we had VHS tapes that we bought.
Right.
And then every customer that came in that first 2 weeks, do you have Beta? I don't know if you remember Beta.
Yeah. Oh no, I remember. Yeah.
And it's like we panicked, and we had like $2,000 in reserve, which back then seemed like all the money in the world. And we went out and bought $2,000 worth of Beta, you know, used Beta tapes, and we made maybe $100 over the next 3 months on Beta. And
yeah, it was just
So you know, you sit there and panic. Well, maybe. So it took a long time to decide to buy embroidery, you know, which we added that on. And then later on, vinyl. We had like one of the first vinyl cutters back then, you know, little Roland 20-inch that cut like 60 inches per minute. It was really slow.
Yeah,
you know?
Same thing, same story. I mean, it took us a while to get into embroidery, but it seemed just like a natural transition, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, that customer, hey, do you guys do, you know, you guys go screen printing for my baseball team? Do you do hats too? Yes.
I'm sure we do. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, you find a way to do them. It's probably contracting it out to someone that you know that does them. But yeah, I think it's just starting small and growing the business. Now, was it a one-man shop for you? Was it two? Like, was it you and your wife, or was
my
it?
wife liked it very early on. My wife is just this great salesperson. I mean,
Okay.
she's very good with people. I mean, I have friends of mine, like I told you earlier, in California, our main niche out there was contractors, builders and stuff. And they'd come in, I don't know what the deal is, but I was going to go in there and spend $500, and I walked out spending $2,500.
Yeah.
Kim, not that she's a high pressure up salesperson, but she's so enthusiastic that I think it rubs off on those people. And then my niece worked for us. You know, it stayed family for a while before we hired our first employees. You know, because you know, you always want to proceed with caution, because you don't want to. I never wanted to be the guy that would hire somebody and then all of a sudden, like, wow, this guy's not going to make his car payment now because I got to lay him off. Right. You know, because the first few years you want to make sure that there's that steady flow of business. And once again, back then, no internet. So it was all done by, you know, bootstrapping and doing some, you know, advertising, postcards.
Yeah.
And
the postcard thing. I mean, so what did you, when you didn't have internet, what did you find was your most effective way of marketing at that point?
The craziest thing, I designed this postcard, a little 5x7 postcard, and back then it was like 17 cents to send out a postcard. And on one side it just said question, or Q, do you buy? And I listed custom t-shirts, hats, stickers, because we were doing the vinyl stickers then. And then A for answer, If yes, call Marketing Works, and they had our toll-free number.
Right.
And it was crazy because I got about a 7 or 8% response, which was back then really high, because everybody said, oh, you're going to get like 1 or 2%. Because I was getting, and I'd collate my own list. I'd go through magazines and find addresses, reaching out of our zip code, our demographic area, and send to hot rod shops and landscape supply companies, whoever I thought was a customer. And sometimes a mailman would call, hey, I was delivering this postcard. I jotted down your phone number. I'm my son's T-ball coach, and he might be in Ottumwa, Iowa, or something like that. But it was pretty fascinating how it worked. It was kind of like the internet without the internet, you know. But it was slow.
Yeah.
So you optimistically go to the post office, throw them in the bin, and then like. You know,
how did you know? So you just found the addresses to send them to in magazines and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I mean,
or
basically,
I would call, and sometimes you'd ask, hey, who's the decision maker there? And honestly, I need to be doing that again, because it still would work, maybe even more so than other means. You know.
Yeah, it's almost like guerrilla marketing now is what they're kind of referring it to, right? Mm-hmm. Like the old school way of marketing that was just a no-brainer is now coming back, and it's like, ooh, it's fancy, you know, it's outside of the box thinking to call somebody, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with social media and the way, you know, the way the internet works and everything now.
I remember I never liked cold calling people, because I don't like to be cold called when I'm busy. I mean, speaking of embroidery, I mean, what call do you get 10 times a day, every day? And 10's a low number.
Yeah.
The digitizer guys all day long, you know. It's like, hello, Ken? Like, oh. I know immediately who they are, and I just basically tell them my great-great-grandma does all our digitizing. You know? And but I always was
I just have
hesitant.
fun with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sometimes you keep them on the phone, do like Seinfeld type thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm hesitant to call people, and now I never do it because I'm busy doing other stuff. But it was like kind of in high school when you were getting ready to call a girl or something.
Yeah.
Clearing your throat 13 times before they pick up the phone. They always catch you in mid-gulp, you know. Yeah. So I always like when people call me, because then I felt like, wow, I've got the upper hand now. They want what I'm offering, you know, that they've kicked open the door that I've left unlocked.
Yeah. So you've mentioned it already. You looked in hot rod magazines. So there was this interest in cars all along, right?
Yeah, I've always been a car guy. I've always had hot rods and stuff.
So I find this crazy. This is what we end up doing as screen printers. I know you guys out there have probably done it too. You reach a slow period, and you're like, I got to come up with something to generate income. I need a brand, right? And so then you come up with this brand idea, and it's usually in desperation because you're slow, right? Maybe it's end of December into January, and you know January, February, early February is just going to be slow in your area, or wherever, whatever month that is and where you guys are from. It's usually typically January. And you come up with this crazy idea to do it, and then you're like, oh, I love, you know, beach clothing or streetwear or whatever. I'm going to come up with a shirt and try to sell it. And then you get all of that stuff into production, you spend the money, you start to market it, and then all of a sudden busy season hits, and it's, well, forget that, you know. And then 3 months into busy season, you're like, I wish I would have just took a vacation in January. right. So at some point you had to decide, hey, I really like hot rods. Let me jump into this, but you stuck with it. Yeah,
well, like I was telling you before we started, with hot rods, you know, and there's, you know, rat rods too, but hot rods, a guy that can build nowadays $100,000 car plus, chances are he's a decision maker, he owns a business, he's got disposable income, or he's got a very ticked off wife because he spent all their money. But usually it's the former rather than the latter. And plus, hey, I like hot rods, you know, and with hot rods comes cool artwork, you know. So back then I used to advertise on this thing called the Ham, which was hokey ass message board. You know, this is before the internet thing and the way it is. It was just starting out. Yeah. And I would post on there, hey, I do custom T-shirts, and I would have a few of my own designs too that I'd sell for, you know, back then like $12 or something like that. And it usually started leading to business. But what I found in that niche, and really in any niche, people within a niche know other people within that niche, and typically they're friendly. Kind of like what you're trying to do here is bring all of us screen printers together and realize we're not competitors, we're partners in a way. And it was the same thing with hot rods. I'd be doing some shirts for a guy in Texas, and I'd say, oh yeah, I just did a similar design for so-and-so out in Fresno, and he's like, oh yeah, I know him. Yeah, I used to work for him, but when I was in California, or I sent out a firewall in a car to have him build or whatever. They're all connected, and if you do a good job for that one guy, and he has that trust in you, he'll refer to other people. And then when social media came in, I post a shirt. Hey, here's a cool shirt we did for Rolling Bones Hot Rod Shop up in New York, and people are like, oh wow, you do Rolling Bones? Oh yeah, maybe they're kind of iconic within that niche.
Yeah.
Like alpacas. Maybe you're into alpacas. All the alpaca people, that was a niche during one of those slow times I tried to approach. And it's before we moved from California, and I bought this book and a directory of alpaca growers. There was like 3,500 of them. Like, wow. And we wound up getting a decent amount, but they wound up, for the effort, they were ordering really small quantities,
Sure.
so it wasn't worth it. But had digital been a thing there, I'd have held on to all those people and kept pursuing it, because digital has changed a lot for us too.
Yeah. So artwork side of things, you saying are you now doing the artwork for these rod tees at that time, or were you?
I was doing a lot. I back in the days with rapidograph pins, like I said, cutting ruby lith, doing the film, but I started finding out who the artists were that were creating this great event artwork.
Yeah.
And in effect, I reached out to maybe 2 or 3 dozen of these guys at first, and a couple of them responded and said, yeah, I've been looking for a good screen printer. Are you a good screen printer? I go, I think I am. I've had no complaints so far. And they would entrust me with like a job. Well, here's a design I did for so-and-so. And I know he wants about 100 shirts or whatever. And they'd send me the artwork. Back then we finally got to where we could get digital files in the mail.
Yeah.
And I would do the shirts. Well, they'd turn out good. That guy would send them a shirt, or I always would try to send them a shirt. And they started sending us orders. So these artists kind of became like sales rep for us, because the last thing that they want to do, as you guys know, working with all these artists, is create some cool design and then have the screen printer do a crappy job, or the embroiderer do a crappy job. They want it to look good. They want you to be a good custodian of what they've created. Yeah.
So you're back in the day, you were kind of promoting brands too, then, for car.
Well,
guys.
In San Diego, especially, everything was streetwear. There was a lot of skateboard stuff back then, and like I said, we were mainly working with contractors. But as we were starting to get into that niche with hot rods, it started to be said, wow, there's some fruit here. And but it's funny, because you're talking about people coming in and whatnot. Back then, No Fear was the big brand nationwide, and they started in San Diego. And literally,
I remember that. Yeah,
every guy that came in, I'm going to be the next No Fear. Well,
yeah,
I hope you are.
Right.
But you also want to be honest with people sometimes too, and say, I don't know. I don't want you to pour $5,000 into this project of your hard-earned money. Let's do a sample. I'll charge you this much. Excuse me. And we'll kind of go from there. But you're always hoping that those people are gonna grow as well. But lately it seems like more and more of the business that comes into your logo wear side of our business are the local brands. Guys, a lot of kids start streetwear brands, and a lot of them have done pretty darn good, because they understand the Instagram side of things. They're really good at putting that stuff on there and selling out like overnight. They're doing these drops, and they do really well.
Did you?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I just kind of picked up on a little bits of the story there. It seems like while you were involved in this niche, what really got the ball rolling was the word of mouth. That was the where people are starting to have that conversation.
Right.
Whereas us, we didn't necessarily have a niche, so to speak. Maybe it was more SEO optimization, kind of with local businesses and stuff. But same deal. Word of mouth is the way that we grew as well. So I think there's something to that there, where as long as people are talking about you, if you can get the conversation going, that's the snowball effect.
Yeah, treat them right, they'll treat you right.
Yeah,
and they're happy. Everybody when they have a bad experience at a restaurant loves to complain or something.
Right.
Like that. But conversely, when they have a good experience and you go above and beyond and make them feel important. Like we used to have this girl that worked for us in California. She's a beautiful girl, really good sales rep. But she was former miss of this town. I'm not going to say what town it was, but she was like the beauty pageant queen.
Right.
She loved to tell everybody that. It was like her opening line. Oh, hi, I'm so-and-so, Miss so-and-so.
Yeah.
And I finally had to tell her, I said, listen, we're not the stars here. The customers are the stars. Take an interest in them. Ask them about and it's fascinating. I mean, some of the things people do to make an earning, it's really cool. You find out the neatest businesses, and that's what's cool about what we do, is every day is a different story. Whether it's a new piece of artwork, or you meet, new customers with really, excuse me, really cool things.
And you've seemed to, from from your rod tees side of things, you've seemed to get those kind of almost relied on your customers to help you build different niches in your brand.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get into the niche side of things if we could, because you've obviously, like, I know you from rod tees, right? And I go on there and it's awesome as far as like the type of artwork that's out there. It's, you know, there's funny stuff, there's serious stuff, there's some of that dad joke stuff, you know, kind of thrown in there, you know, and there's a lot of things that what's great is you can see it all, but it's a marketing page for you. And really, I know you've said before that it's just more of like a design gallery, but it's created a shop, right? And so I've seen that, I know you from that, but obviously you've taken this rod tees thing and branched out from that based on the customer base that you've had, right? Like, because there's different, like you said, there's different styles of cars, there's different styles of everything. So can you kind of expand on like how you've taken in customers to kind of help you build your business?
Yeah, like I was mentioning earlier to you, Instagram is like a really good gallery for us of work we've done. And it seems like our customers, especially the hot rod guys, tend to be a little bit older. The streetwear guys, of course, you know, 16 to 35, it seems like, but the hot rod guys typically are, 30 on up, to 30 on up to the day they die. They're hot rodders.
Yeah.
So we started doing a lot of stuff on Facebook. About 10 years ago, I started my Rod Tees page, and it was a slow build because I was kind of figuring it out, and Facebook had just started their pages. And I started posting, mainly just pictures of shirts we had done. And I thought, well, people I started looking at other pages. It's the old saying, everybody's my superior. I can learn from them.
Right.
I started learning from looking at other people's stuff and figured out, oh, God, I got to post content. So I'd post, pictures of really cool cars, a lot of nostalgic stuff, hot rods and gearhead things. A lot of it's tied into nostalgia.
Right.
So I built the Rod Tees page, and it slowly built, and then it hit like around 10,000 followers, and then it really started growing.
Yeah.
But the difference is they're real active followers. They really participate. And now, after 10 years of this, and really the last 3 years, really focusing on it, it's up to like 91,000 followers on that one.
Wow.
But in the interim, I started creating these sub-niche pages. V-dubbed, which is for the Volkswagen crowd, motorcycle brand, which is for the motorcycle, and the Ace of Speed, and Detroit Thunder, and Old Trucks Forever, Old Steel Rules, Custom Classics and Cruisers. And the page that's really bearing fruit for us now is called Gasoline Soul, and it kind of covers all that.
Right.
And it kind of pays homage to, a 1950s McDonald's restaurant, In-N-Out Burger, going to the Dairy Queen, old rock and roll music, cars.
Yeah.
So I post a lot of content, but then I intersperse, hey, by the way, if you need custom T-shirts, contact my buddies at Rod Tees, or contact us here at Gasoline Soul, or Facebook's got the thing where you can tag a picture with a shirt that maybe you're selling, because like you're saying, hey, you want to start your own brand.
Yeah.
We have a store called GearheadTees.com that we have close to 1,000 designs in. They're not all ours. Some of them were mini shops within our shop that we're hosting for some of these artists that we've we started that about 1.5 years ago. So it's cool because you can find a really cool picture and then tag it with a design that is apropos, that ties into that. And then when people buy an individual shirt, we put in a little flyer, hey, by the way, if you need a bulk order of custom shirts, Rod Tees printed these for us, if you need them. So that's really taken off. Like I was telling you before, the crazy thing, Gasoline Soul, and every day is a new 28-day period on Facebook. Gasoline Soul hit 61 million views over the last 28 days.
My goodness.
Yeah, so it's averaging a little over 2 million views a day. And for that reason, it's,
You caught lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, I mean, I should be more aggressive and post even more posts about what we do, but it's kind of fun, and it brings people together. I get nice emails from people, oh, I love this page, blah, blah, blah. But I always take that opportunity when they message us to let them know what we really do, what pays the rent.
Right. And so are all of these sites that you have, are they driving towards like a site to buy something, or are they individual marketing stores, or are you doing a lot of fulfillment and shipping from these things?
Well, with each page, I've kind of created a collection. Like the V-dubbed page, I have some VW designs, VW related designs, I should say. They don't say VW. Then I have, the Gasoline Soul is a collection of designs. And some of them, cross-pollinate. There's
Yeah.
synergy between all of them. And what I find when people are buying, like, for example, the individual shirts, they might buy a shirt from Gasoline Soul. They might buy a Old Trucks Forever design, and they might buy one from this one artist we do stuff for, Gare Peters. It becomes like a little online shopping mall for them.
Yeah.
But the ultimate goal, is to drive them to Rod Tees so we can do, bulk orders.
Right. Yeah.
It's fun to make $20 on a T-shirt, but it's also fun to get a 250 shirt order
Sure.
with really cool artwork, and that's always been to me the big payoff, and that's why I've always loved screen printing. Is how it is. You're laying down the first 4 or 5 colors, but then when that trap color comes down, when that black comes down, it's like, wow, it's always like magic.
Yeah.
For 35 years, I've never got sick of that. I actually love it when somebody comes into our shop and I go up and talk to Kim or Aaron or whoever's at the front counter and say, oh, what'd they bring in? I look at their artwork. Oh, this is going to be cool. This is going to be fun to print.
Yeah.
I think people pick up on that enthusiasm.
Yeah. So, I'm hearing this. I know you guys are hearing this at home and going, holy cow, how big is your facility to be able to do all this stuff, right? And are you really doing all this stuff yourself? I mean, as far as the marketing side of things, do you hire in marketing or anything?
Do it all myself.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I tell you guys out there that the greatest thing that's happened to my business in 35 years of doing this is cell phone.
Yeah.
I can run my whole business from my phone, all the online stuff. I curate a bunch of pictures that I'm going to post. I have them in my gallery, and then Facebook has a neat little business page app. I can literally go, okay, I'm going to send this one to this page, this one to this page, this one to this page.
Right.
Then I'm going to tag it with this product because my store is tied into it. Facebook's got all these great integrations, and hey, Facebook's not for everybody, but for my particular niche, and there's so many good niches. And I would say, hey, it's great if you guys want to try to tap into the hot rod niche. Everybody's welcome. But what works the best, I think, is something you're passionate about.
Right.
I had a customer come in this week, and he's got a really cool line of fishing gear, and I'm not a fisherman, much to my dad's chagrin. I never wanted to go fishing. I'm always moving.
Right.
I'm too highly caffeinated. I don't know. But he's got this great fishing thing, and he's got like 300 followers on Instagram and like 120 on Facebook. And I was asking him, I said, well, how your sales have been? And he goes, oh, they're so pretty good. And he bought a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And I always cringe when people invest a lot of money. And I was telling him, I said, you could create a really cool niche page for this fishing. Pictures of old boats, pictures of people. Like I'll post pictures of, like the Andy Griffith show. Here's Andy Griffith with an old car, or here's Raquel Welch with an old car. Use a little of the celebrity thing, a little recognition. And there's thousands of lakes in this country. You can post pictures of all these great lakes. Pictures of old fishing equipment. There's so many things that relate to that niche. Figure out where the core of that niche is, and then spoke out from it.
Yeah. Share with us, maybe one of the coolest moments you've had for maybe it's just a celebrity buying shirts, or if you've had Jay Leno. I know Jay Leno's big into cars. I know Jerry Seinfeld's in the cars that you were mentioning about Seinfeld episodes. Have you had any kind of people that you've oh my gosh, I can't believe this person wants something or whatever, or anything like that?
Well, when we were in California
with a brand or anything,
for years when we were in California, we did all the printing for Thor and Slippery When Wet, pretty big motocross guys.
Okay.
And jet ski, and the Gin Blossoms, pretty good band.
Yeah.
They went on. I can't remember if Jay Leno was still hosting it. No, yeah, Leno was hosting it, and they were wearing a bunch of the shirts we had printed. Not necessarily ours, but it's always cool. But I think the coolest thing is when you're on vacation somewhere, and you see somebody wearing a shirt you printed. Like I had a buddy of mine in San Diego. He owned a chain of a Mexican food restaurant. It's called Sombrero Mexican Food, and he was smart. He has like 30 locations, and he took the idea just like In-N-Out Burger does, and they sell shirts at every location. And I'd go to my Padres season tickets, and I'd go to the ball game, and I'd always see people wearing sombrero shirts or other shirts we did. And that to me was even cooler than celebrities wearing the stuff. And we've done stuff for decent sized bands and stuff, but we always have kind of gone towards, okay, we don't want to do 1,000 shirts and make $1 a shirt. We want to do 100 shirts and make $6 a shirt or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I thought, for us, right away we ended up with Founders and the University of South Carolina baseball team. So I was like, man, they're giving away the shirts that we printed to thousands of people. This is so cool, but they had no clue who we are. So we're not sticking our logo on anything, But to have a specific brand that you're selling and then see somebody with it on, that's awesome. You know, that would be really cool. A picture of a celebrity or whatever. And so riches to niches, or riches in the niches, and all that. You've kind of you know, in doing some research for just even to talk about the store, you kind of talk about that a little bit, and you're in the diagram or the information you sent me. And do you feel like you've at any point like kind of found the sweet spot for I mean, obviously the automotive side of things, but as far as the marketing side of things, do you kind of gone into like Facebook only, Instagram only, or I mean, I see you on Instagram, but is things working better and is it Google working better than Facebook? And you know, have you kind of figured out how to take advantage of some of these social media and what works best?
Yeah, it's funny, like you said, you asked earlier, if I am doing most of it.
Yeah.
You know, every now and then my wife will say, "Oh, hey, you know, scan our QR code and do a review." But for the most part, I'm doing all of it, and with that comes an overwhelming amount of stuff. Like, you know, oh, there's Google, and now, you know, we don't do TikTok, but there, you know, TikTok I saw has stores, Pinterest has stores. You know, tag this and do that, and it's like, wow, you know, you got to upload. If it's a design we've done, we've got to upload it into our store. Then we have a Facebook shop that's on one of the pages, and we've got to upload that, and you got to do all the specifics. It gets a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I've been so hesitant to hire somebody because I truly understand that niche.
Yeah.
And I think now I started keeping a silly thing, but I started keeping a notebook binder with all the little categories and inspiration points. Like, you know, like I posted a picture the other day of a girl from the 1970s wearing roller skates playing pinball.
Right.
And that's another thing. If you guys start a niche page, ask comments. You know, ask for comments or ask somebody to caption the picture. And it's amazing how many people commented on that picture about pinballs. You know, and I thought, okay, well, we're going to do right now. We're doing the artwork for a really cool hot rod pinball shirt.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, if you go back to the original thing you asked, it's a little overwhelming to do everything, to keep up with Google and keep up with this and keep up with that. I'd like to hire somebody, but I don't know that they understand the niche as well as I do. You know. Yeah,
it's interesting. We've hired a social media person at one point to do our social media for us, because all I was doing was taking a picture of a shirt. And as an owner, I'm trying to build a business too. Mm-hmm. You've had this experience to where you've kind of set this business in place and you've got it up and running and working, and you've kind of gotten comfortable with it to the point now where you can actually you're working on the business instead of in the business. Is that true? Both? Yeah. But I feel like, you know, you've kind of justified the time to actually, it's okay. I mean, you're not printing every shirt, right? So you've kind of taken yourself out of production.
I still do a decent amount because I love it, and then certain things I want to make sure I'm doing it because I want, you know, the customers to be happy. And honest to God, I mean, a lot of people say, "Are you the one printing them?"
Yeah.
You know, and when they ask that, I make sure that I'm at least over the shoulder and setting up the job. And, you know, because a lot of it's really tight registration and everything. But yeah,
I feel like there's a big takeaway here, and it's kind of your approach to things. And I don't know if this was intentional, but this is kind of what I've taken away from it, is that rather than just kind of talk about, you know, yourself and your business to your customers, I'm the best, come look at me, you know, we're superior, this, that, and the other. You've taken the time to really get to understand who you're selling to. You've invested in your customers, and even though not all of these people that are on your pages are your customers, you're making a connection with them and kind of curating this virtual environment where people can just share common interests with each other. And I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. The other day, my wife and I were talking about, you know, taking a vacation. It's like, I need to take a vacation.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about the niche marketing is you can do that while you're on vacation. But what I was telling my wife, you know, we built this community of really great customers from coast to coast, and honestly, you know, sometimes they just call just to shoot the breeze, which is cool because we've got common ground and everything. But I explained to my wife, you know, if we drove across country, if we decided to do the, you know, Clark Griswold family European vacation trip or whatever, I feel that no matter where I am in the country, if my car broke down, I've probably got a customer within 50 to 100 miles, you know, that would come and help. You know, that's what's really cool. You know, because once again, they're not lucky to do business with us. We're lucky to do business with them.
100%.
And
Yeah.
I think that, I've been in shops, not so much here because I haven't really had time, but people I met in California, back then it was a lot more cutthroat too. Everybody was trying to steal
Yeah.
your customer. Guys would come in, you're like, okay, this is another screen printer. He's looking at our work. Because like I said, we were one of the first that had like a retail storefront, and it's like, what you're doing is so cool, you guys, is, bringing people together and realizing,
Right.
yeah, every now and then we might overlap, but we don't need to stab each other in the back.
Right.
We need to give our industry a really good name, because years ago it was full of guys, like I was telling you, call them the quarter swipe guys.
Yeah.
They do whatever it took to get the job, but guess what? A year later, their equipment was for sale on Craigslist or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, so I guess what I was going with the whole question before was the production side of things and hiring somebody. I kind of got the hint from your conversation that, like, hey, you like to be in everything, but so it's really, and you're doing all the marketing yourself and everything else. That could get really, really overwhelming.
Oh, it does.
It would seem to be really, really overwhelming to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But then hiring to find that person with that passion to do exactly what you want, how you want it. I actually brought this up in a camp we just went to, and one of the responses was, hey, you got to hire someone that is just as passionate about the things that you want to do, and that's kind of hard to find sometimes. They might not be printers.
Yeah. And those are the people, and you have to accept it.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're going to go off on their own, and God bless them, and more power to them. You were lucky enough to have them for a short time to help you build what you're doing and protect what you're doing. So yeah, that's always the hard part. I don't want. There's entry level people that you bring into your shop.
Yeah.
I like to have somebody that's never done it before, because I want to show them the way I do it. But conversely, somebody that's going to help out with the management part and the promotional part, all that kind of stuff. I feel like if I was to hire somebody, I want somebody that is just as passionate and hopefully smarter than I am, which
Yeah.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
I think that's where you gain, is by hiring really smart people and people that are good with it. I think the most important thing is people have to be good with customers.
Yeah.
When one of my guys, is there and a nice lady comes in and she's got 9 cartons of shirts that she's got to pick up, I want him to take them out there, but I also want him to be comfortable engaging in conversation, not stare down at the ground the whole time.
Yeah.
And once again, taking an interest in the customer. And
So, what's your route for hiring people that think and love what you do just as much as you do? Do you have a kind of an advice for anybody or anything that or do you just kind of trying a little bit of everything to get the right person? Do you find yourself going through a lot of interviews? Do you?
I think we're a relatively small shop. We're lean and mean. We don't.
Yeah. How many people you have working?
We have
for?
6.
Okay.
And we don't have.
And they're committed, fully committed.
Yeah.
They're all in.
Yeah, and what we do is, we figured out, okay, well, this is where all the I hate to use the word profit, but this is that's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's where all the profit is. This is how we can be lean and mean. And there's other revenue streams that we've created, but that's neither here nor there, that are connected to the business. But it's just to me, I want to hire somebody, first of all, that I feel like me and my guys and girls are going to have a good rapport with. Because we've all hired that one guy that comes in and it's like it brings everybody down, like a human anchor.
Yeah.
We don't want that. We want somebody that's, and hey, we all have bad days. We're all stressed. We have nights where we don't get sleep or whatever. But somebody that okay, you can say, oh, come on, man, Jeremy, just lighten up a little bit. Somebody that you can flip a little switch and they turn back on.
Yeah. I think Jackson's experienced that in his time here at the shop. Just
for sure. There's been a few, but it's kind of apparent that they're not going to last. You usually can tell pretty immediately.
Yeah.
And it kind of happens on its own. It doesn't always require letting somebody go, but sometimes it comes to that.
Yeah.
But that's I think the thing that I love about working here is. That we have that kind of tight-knit community. Everybody gets along. We're blessed not to have workplace drama, and that's good for a lot of different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, screen printing's controlled chaos, really.
It is.
Especially if you guys found that, it seems to me, especially since COVID, all that nonsense happened, that in the last couple of years, we used to have people that would have events, and they would plan the day after the event was done. They're planning the next one.
Right.
Hey, we want to jump on this
Oh my
artwork,
gosh.
blah blah blah. And now it seems like people are holding on to that money until the last possible minute, and who can blame them? Because they're still kind of like, oh God, I hope my event doesn't, get canceled. Because a lot of what we do is hot rod shows or vendors that are going to sell their wares at hot rod shows, and they're a little freaked out by it. So it seemed like our turnaround time has to be a lot faster now.
Yeah.
And that brings a lot of stress and can create that chaos and can create a little tension.
Yeah. So you're dealing in high mesh simulated process kind of printing right now, aren't you? Or are you doing 4-color process, or what are you doing?
No, it's fun.
So all spot color?
we make, obviously a lot of the artists are particularly a lot of PMS matches and stuff, but if you look at our gallery, it's like there's a fence right down the middle.
Yeah.
On the left side is all the screen printing stuff we're doing for these events, for the big bulk orders or for these artists or these brands, and it's 1 to 3 color on black.
Yeah.
Nice,
easy,
really good, well executed artwork. These guys, these artists that we've been lucky enough to work with are super talented at creating a good design that's balanced and good use of color. And then there's digital. We do a ton of digital.
Okay.
DTG and DTF, and it's more and more DTF all the time. And once again, it has its place. And then a lot of them, screen print the front, do DTF on the back or whatever. So I haven't done a process print now in like 2 years.
Awesome.
We really don't. Our automatic is mainly just used for
spot color. Yeah. I think that's a decision that a lot of people are trying to find. With DTG, you're kind of like, I think everybody was kind of on the fence. Is this going to last? And then we start to hear the horror stories about printing white or washing out or longevity and pre-treat. I know that was a big thing for a while. It was like, I don't want to have to deal with the pre-treat process. That's a mess, and nobody carries pre-treated shirts. And then all of a sudden, Sanmar starts carrying, and other manufacturers get aware. And I have salesmen coming to my door like digitizers wanting to sell me DTG, and I'm like, no way, right? And then because if you don't keep it running, it's going to dry out and all this stuff. And then DTF comes on the scene, and you're like, here we go again, But after a while, especially dealing with Supercolor was one of the ones that we started to use right away. You go, man, this is a no-brainer. I'm sitting here trying to replicate a chrome print for this guy, golden chrome print for this guy, and I go and order the same film off of direct Supercolor, and I print it, and the guy's like, this is the greatest shirt ever.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, why the heck am I trying to do this anymore? So I think we went the whole route of, no, we're going to be traditionalists and we're going to do this the way, and we're not going to do DTF. And now I think at one point Jackson's like, are we going to start to be called Rock Hill Transfers instead of Rock Hill Screen Printing, Dad? And I'm like, almost to the point where he's like kind of poking at me about it, but I'm like, it has its place. It absolutely has its place, Yeah,
and it's hard. It's like, I know some screen printers, they don't do embroidery. They want to send 100% of it out, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And we sub some out, because we only have so many heads, so, a big order, we might sub it out to somebody. But with DTG, and I think a lot of it for me was being a car guy, what do you learn about cars? Is you maintain them.
Right.
You got to you got to do things. The oil light comes on for a reason in your car, right? Well, it's the same thing with DTG. You got to take care of it. There's a lot of horror stories out there, and I think DTG did come to the market about 2 or 3 years too early.
Yeah.
The first machine we got, it only did light colors, and but the pre-treat was, they actually weren't even pre-treating back then.
Yeah.
But if you take care of the machines they don't necessarily have to run all the time, but ours do run all the time now. But it's amazing because the turnaround times are quicker. You don't have to worry about minimums because when I was doing process printing, people didn't mind ordering 288 or 144 or whatever. Now they're like, well, can I get 60? Like, I don't want to spend that much time and stress over it because I know just by looking at you guys shop and seeing the work you've done, you guys are very picky too.
Yeah.
And a process print it can make your hair fall out.
I've done. Samaritans had this it was the Good Samaritans picture, and it's a oil-based painting of the Good Samaritan, and it's beautiful painting. I printed that thing 7 different times, and they would, you start to get into samples where I want to sample before, I want to see the sample in person, and you're like, oh my gosh, here we go again. Well, the red's off. Well, can we lighten the red up here in the corner? Well, as soon as you lighten that red up in a 4-color process job, it changes everything.
Yeah.
And so, like, to try to get them to understand it, and I mean, literally reprinted the job like 7 different times to try to get it over a month, you know, and finally got it to where they just gave in.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, okay, how better can we do this, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's obvious. I mean, you know, direct to film or direct to garment, you know, but they're talking thousands of these things. So then I'm like,
yeah,
woo, you know,
it's funny because there's a couple things that happen with doing a lot of digital that guys need to expect is sometimes customers are spending a fortune for the artwork.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's no money left over for the T-shirts, and they want to get, you know, well, I guess I can get 7 shirts. A lot of it's guys that want a cool picture of their car because you know they fixed up the car. Now all they have, they want to keep perpetuating that
one
car.
shirt.
You know, so you know they're like, wow, why is that shirt that much? But you can execute that for them, and it comes out really, really good. But just digital or DTG and DTF are just like screen printing. You just don't hit a button and do it. There's subtle nuances to everything. But
so it sounds like you have DTG in-house.
Yeah, with DTG in-house and DTF.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
You went.
Now, I will say the DTF printer, I'm not going to say which one it is. I'm not happy with it. The support's been bad. And once again, I think it's just like DTG.
It's a little too early. Yeah.
Tons of people, because they look at our, these guys are salesmen. They're looking for customers, and they know we're doing lots of DTG. And honestly, we get great DTF prints from our Epson DTG machines.
Yeah.
It's just it's cumbersome. It's a slower process.
Sure.
The dedicated DTF printer we're having just tons of issues. They've sold so many.
Do you have the looping thing where the film
shaker.
goes? Yeah, the shaker and all that stuff. Yeah.
And when it works fantastic, and it's honestly it's a money maker.
Yeah.
But the training and support's not there. I mean, we're probably gonna retire it and get another one here.
Yeah,
maybe
Stephen Farrig is I would recommend you watch anything that Farrig is doing on the Printavo podcast.
Yeah, we've talked back and forth in DMs about stuff.
Yeah, well, he's already having a problem with the Mamaki.
Yeah.
So, and he just got the Mamaki as well. So, yeah, there's different brands and they're struggling, but the one guy we just had on the show, DTF North Carolina, I can give you his contact, but he gets them from a direct supplier out of Texas who gets them from overseas, and that guy's, so it's an international connection, and he's like, it's the best ever, and he's run it nonstop. He's got 3 total machines now, and we use him exclusively, in the last 3 or 4 months.
Because we're going to jump bigger into it because we've added all these designs to our store, and the feel of it is so much better than it was just a year ago.
Yeah.
The powder has changed it to where it went from being. And it's always funny because people complain, that on a black shirt, it's got kind of a rubbery feel. Well, guess what? If you want a real opaque print, unless you're doing discharge or water-based, you're going to get that same feel.
It's crazy. We just went to water-based camp, and I printed some water-based shirts. Have you felt those water-based shirts that we printed?
Yeah.
The discharge is way better than obviously because it's part of the shirt. Then the water base is just laying on top, and I've washed that thing twice. It feels worse.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. And once again, for the San Diego thing with the arid climate, I just kind of never.
You never tried, yeah.
Yeah, we went to water-based camp and decided we were not printing water-based.
I think things go like in cycles too. I mean, for a while there, Plastisol just got a really bad name all of a sudden. Just seems like overnight, and customers somehow were find out about it. Do you guys do water-based? Discharge became a big thing. And we did discharge for a while. For certain jobs, it actually is really cool. And I even do some of my own designs. When I know it's going to sell well, I might run 100 of them, for the retail prints, and I'll do them discharge just because I like the feel of them. Like it's all one color on black. But Plastisol's come back around, and with a lower temperature, Plastisol, and the way it lasts. I've seen shirts that we printed 20 years ago that are full of pinholes. I mean, we went and visited some friends in California. He was wearing, this is my favorite shirt. Are you ever going to print more? Well, no, it's from an event. But the shirt, but the print still looks good.
Yeah.
You don't get that with anything else.
Right. And I think, what I'm trying to tackle is okay, obviously I want to go for that soft tan feel and not lose opacity and everything. So, if you can, achieve that same, product with Plastisol, using things like additives, the Stampinator, for example, that makes the biggest difference in the world. Why not do that?
Using a better shirt.
Yeah, using a better shirt. That's 99% of it, I feel like.
The same thing with DTG.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, nothing wrong with Gildan. I mean, people like Gildan.
Yeah.
We do a lot of Gildans for events, where they need a low entry cost. But yeah, you want an AS Color or Cotton Heritage or, Bella Can, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a discernible difference.
And I'll stick up for Gildan a little bit here because it's always been the tee that, people have gone to. It's it's like, what's the staple? What's the one everybody goes to? Oh, it's the Gildan 5000 or the Gildan 2000 or the soft style or whatever else, right? And they like Plastisol have gotten a bad name about being the cheap shirt, but honestly, there's cheaper shirts than that. And then you start to get into porting companies and things like that, and you're like, oh, that's the low of the low. Nope, Delta can go cheaper than that, and you go, you start lower than low. And honestly, one of the biggest shirts we sell here is the Port and Company fan favorite tee, which is like, it feels like a Bella and Canvas shirt, right? But so Gildan, hats off to them. They're acquiring other business now. They've got American Apparel. Yeah. American Apparel is going to try to compete a little bit with Bella. So they're even though it doesn't maybe not have the Gildan name on it, they're owning Comfort Colors. They're owning these other things that are competing. So hesitate on maybe
Oh no, we do tons of Gildan.
Yeah,
I'm just using it as an example.
No, I know.
You get it's like the people that like wine. I'm not a wine drinker, but this is so much better than that wine. I can't tell the difference. And honestly, Gildan, we probably do 65 or 70% of what we do is on Gildan.
The porting companies and the Gildans and all the different small cheap shirts.
And kudos to them, because when I started, if you weren't doing Hanes Beefy Tee, that's all people wanted. And then Gildan came along, and man, they spun it around. They took over a huge chunk of that marketplace.
And that's where the vinyl people go to, and they're like, it's because they can get them from Hobby Lobby.
Yeah. Hey, we've had emergencies where we've had to go to Hobby
Next
Lobby
Level. But the crazy thing is, you can get Next Level and Comfort Colors and Bella, and you can get a ton of stuff from Hobby Lobby now.
Yeah, but you get that sticker you got to peel off, and it leaves that.
I know.
Do you do all the ordering, or does your wife? Or
it's a combination. Honestly, we have my wife was doing a lot of it, and the joke was always when we first got started, we're going to order, because I was doing it. She's like, we're going to order once a week, every month. And then the funny thing is, I'm like, Jill, we're going to order. She orders twice a day now.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm going to order once a day. But yeah. So no, she does it. Or my sales girl does it.
Well, my question is, how many extra do you order for a job? Let's say you're doing 500 shirts.
That's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
So my wife orders the exact amount every time.
And it's gosh.
And
spoilage. Where's your spoilage?
Knock on wood. Yeah, it's very, very, very low, but it's stressful.
Yeah.
And that's where Hobby Lobby comes in.
And you'll have a hole in the front of the shirt and be like, well, do we have extras? Oh,
we
only ordered one extra of each size, and I messed up the other one, so we got to figure something out.
And that's where discharge can scare the heck out of you.
You're
not shooting spots out.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done discharge. You just pull a Sharpie out, but anyways.
You've got a turquoise Sharpie I can borrow?
Yeah. Well, you're not discharging a turquoise shirt.
Yeah.
I was talking with Brett from Printed Threads, and he's like, I spent all night trying to discharge a turquoise shirt, like into 3 a.m, and all of a sudden I'm like, and then I call my buddy the next morning, and he's like, you can't discharge a turquoise shirt. It's impossible to get a bright white out of that. And he's like, are you freaking kidding me? So, wow. There's a lot of stuff covered. This T-shirt side of things, it was just getting back to where just buying a better T-shirt. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's night and day. You went to our open house. I mean, you print an AS color, and that kind of just that soft hand feel of that shirt, and it prints. I mean, it prints unbelievably well. You stick a one-stroke underbase on that thing, and if you do your artwork correctly. Right, you can't stick a full, big old slab of white and triple print it, to get a nice bright white underbase. I mean, you're gonna have a stop sign, regardless of whatever your design is on the back of your shirt. It's just gonna feel like you're just wearing plastic at that point. But if you're doing your separations right and you can hit that underbase with a Stampinator, crush all those fibers down, smooth it out, and then you're saving ink by printing less hits of the top colors on, it's going to come
customers
off.
get spoiled by that too. They love that.
It's going to come off feeling like this, just as good as water based.
I think there's a point to be made going back to the different makes of each T-shirt and everything. Like, better is, that's temporary, because right now, believe it, the what's popular for like streetwear brands and stuff like that, big, heavy, boxy T-shirts. Not that long ago, it was lightweight stuff, and then back in 2008, there were goobers wearing V-necks all the time. It's always going to change. So, and it's like, oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, learn how to do each one of them justice, and then you'll.
Yeah, that's a good point. Everyone does have its own little set of tips and tricks, but I'm finding too, like sometimes on the quote unquote better, the good, better, best. That's how my wife always promotes it to people. The best, sometimes the quality control's not there. Some of the bigger names that are out there, find constantly, the shoulders are coming apart, armpits,
right?
And those are the things you don't always see. People are like, oh, don't you look at those shirts? Because it's rare that it happens. That my one son, actually, the quality control guy, he goes through every shirt. If there's a tiny little dot of ink, he spots it. He's got eagle eyes, but you miss the little hole in the armpit or whatever. And it always seems to me like it's on the higher end shirts,
right?
That's kind of the ironic thing.
Yeah.
So back to the artwork side of things. Do you find that there's more artists in the area of automotive because you're in like the Charlotte kind of region and it's like NASCAR country, or do you feel like you go all over the country for that to look for
all over the world?
All over the world.
One of the best guys I work with is a guy named Gare Peters. If anybody needs really good artwork, he's over in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Fantastic guy. His artwork is just, and whenever I post on Instagram, I 99% of the time try to mention the artist.
Yeah.
If I don't, it's usually because it's been a reorder and I just forgot.
Yeah.
But I try to give them kudos because, hey, they help us out. But most of the artists that we deal with, they're car guys.
Yeah.
But there's not a never-ending stream of hot rod shirts for them to design. Just like in our business, we're not printing hot rod shirts all day. We're printing, Helvetica type on black shirts,
right,
or whatever, class list things. But like this one guy we deal with out of Canada, he's, I think, the best artist that we've ever dealt with. His art's incredible, but he always falls behind on the hot rod work for guys.
Yeah.
They wait a year for him to do stuff, but he's doing stuff for Cheetos and Ford Motor Company and all these
the NASCAR guys,
storyboards for Yellowstone.
Yeah.
So he just does it because he's passionate about the cars, and that always comes through on the artwork.
Okay, here's the buzz question, the kind of what everybody's kind of wanting to talk about right now, and that's AI. Mm-hmm. Have you journeyed into the artwork side of AI at all, or have you even played with it at all?
Played with a little bit. I don't know.
It makes Jackson cringe when I say it.
I don't like it. It's we've printed stuff that customers sent to us, and you can instantly look at it and see that it's AI.
Yeah.
That being said, it's amazing. We all look, like I said, I'm old. I've been doing this a long time. We used to do this thing. I don't know if you ever heard of what was it called? I can't remember what the machine was called. It's been so long ago. But you had a little 35 millimeter film strip, and you bought fonts in different sizes. You could blow them up or down, and you would literally take a picture and you would set the word, Rock Hill.
Yeah.
You typeset that, take a photo of each letter, and kern it yourself,
and
then paste it up on your artwork. And this is before computers were cranking out that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing tool. I'm sure it's going to get way better, but the human touch, man.
Yeah, but it's
touch.
I think it's good to know people like you. Like I had a customer come in and say, "Hey, I want a 1986 Mustang. I want an ST80 whatever L, hood on the blower on the front. It's my kid. It was a memorial shirt for his kid that passed away. He was a drag racer, and so I'm going to build out his car. But this is what it was, and I want it looking at it, and I'm like, holy crap, how the heck am I going to do this, right? But I as a friend, so I wanted to do it for him. I'm like, it's going to be more cartoony, then it's not going to be realistic,
Yeah.
because there's no pictures of that, right? Yeah. And so I have to either find an artist that can pull that off, talk him out of it, or go to AI.
Yeah.
And I sat there and drove AI over and over and over again until I got even close. And thankfully, I hire an external artist and graphic source, and so they have resources for me to use in Thailand, of all places. Yeah. And he's like, if you ever get into, the owner was like, hey, if you ever get into really difficult artwork like that, just send it to us. If you can get close, send it to us, and then we'll send it to Thailand to do it. So I literally, an artist in Thailand did that shirt for me.
Yeah, we've had a guy, this guy named Rico. I can't pronounce his last name, but he's somewhere down in Malaysia, and he does killer artwork, almost as good as some of these other guys, but he's a similar style. Yeah. And he'll knock it out in a day at a fairly reasonable price. I mean, it's not cheap for, some customers, you tell them an artwork charge, like, what? Yeah. Because they think that you just can hammer it out right away. And there's a value to it. You have to pass on. We never mark up artwork. We probably should, but, really, I want the customer to order shirts. But
that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, digitizing, we will a little bit, because there's always back and forth to digitizing. But their artwork, if the guy charges us $200, that's what we're charging the customer. Typically, because we're here to print shirts. And,
we've done that with digitizing. We've done that with some of. We've used a local guy and just basically said, we're not gonna try to make money off of what he's doing for us, anyways. So like the digitizing fee, we've kept pretty low, and then the artwork side of things. But now when now I'm paying an artist in Honduras $2,500 a month to be full time and do all this stuff for me, I'm gonna expect him to do everything for me.
Yeah, and that's what's worked out good for us. If somebody says they describe like what you said, I know exactly which artist I'm going to, because their styles are different. It's like remember Keith Haring? Do you remember Keith Haring? He was a famous subway graffiti guy. Back in the 80s and 90s. He died a long time ago. But he had a specific style. Or there's Banksy, famous guy. Or there's whomever, Ed Roth, the big guy, the Rat Fink guy. They all have a distinct style. So because we almost signed up for that, and I think it's a great service that they offer. Yeah. But there's some people want really cartoony. Yeah. And people say, hey, who did that artwork? That's what I want to do my design, because it speaks to them, Yeah. So that's the.
I ended up doing the cartoony version of that because he had a tattoo that he wanted converted that also ended up being cartoony, right? Because it was a flat print tattoo. And he goes, I want that guy driving the car. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. How do you tell AI all of this, right? Yeah. So I got it close to where I actually got the car looking that way. And the car couldn't pull off the blower hood on there. I had to just basically take pictures of the blower hood thing, and I'm not even saying it right probably, but the blower and all that, and just go, hey, artist guy in Thailand, I want this blower on this car facing this way, black, convertible, top down. Oh yeah. I mean, just one right after another, and he was able to pull it off, so that was awesome.
And I think artists are always going to be artists. That's always going to be there, and AI will get more complex, but I feel like that's going to have more digital applications than anything else, right? Because AI is not doing artwork separations for screen printing. You know what I mean? It might, but like the pictures that we were messing around with the other day, like, you make a cool sticker out of it. It could translate to DTG, DTF, that kind of stuff.
There's absolutely good purposes for it right now for us, like fun stuff. Like if we had a direct-to-garment machine, I could see using it a lot more.
Yeah, I think.
But because you would just be doing one-offs for people, right? But like a social media post for the store, or for the store for our podcast. Just coming up with creative social media posts. I can just say, here's my picture, here's her picture, here's the logo, prompt this, and it'll create something what I want it to create, and I can put it in any setting and just use it for a social media post. Nothing, low resolution. I'm not trying to mess with it, So there's those things like that. I can go into Chat GPT, which is the AI, text a story editor or whatever, and create actual social media posts that are full blown with emojis and everything, like and say, hey, top five ways to clean, to tape a screen, or the most of taping the perfect screen. And it'll rattle it all off because it's scrubbing the internet from everybody's information about taping screens, right? So we can do nanoseconds. We can do so as far as building that brand through social media, those tools are available. I mean, but you still have to edit them to the human perspective and add your personalization to them, or otherwise it's not going to seem like you, right?
Yeah, it's funny. Like you use the word prompt, that prompts me to a thought. Like the subscription-based services, that's a lot that's really changed. I've seen for the better in our business. Like, I subscribe to Canva. I free pick. Do you use free pick at all?
No.
It's fantastic.
Okay.
There's tons of artwork on there. It's a pretty low monthly fee, but the artwork comes with an extended license to where you can
use it. Yeah.
But what my talent has always been is I'm really good at coming up with a tagline for somebody, or I can look at a design and say, okay, if I tweak this, do that, do this, do that, and we've got a winner.
Right.
And so you can look on Free Pick, and there might be a cool picture of a guy kayaking, but you say, okay, if we tweak this, we tweak that, but the foundation and that artwork is there, and you can download it, and they give it to you in 5 or 6 different formats in most cases. Kittle is another one.
Okay,
Kittle's really good for social media stuff.
Yeah,
I use it, but between the 3 of those that I just mentioned, I think I paid less than $50 a month.
Yeah.
And it's really good resources.
A ton of resources out there for sure. Yeah.
And there's more and more coming all the time because it's a competitive marketplace. Because Vector Stock.
I use Vector Stock. Yeah.
Okay. A lot of these same artists
are all over in the other one.
Yeah. They have a different handle or whatever, but you follow that particular artist because you like their style. Once again, the style is.
I've relied on Vector Stock over the years. And because I did all the artwork up until recently.
Yeah, I used to stress over it. And,
Oh my gosh, yeah, and the Frank at Sipes Designs really helped me out. But he had 30 years of experience as a art director for a design firm. So I'm like, okay, I can go to him. It's that material becomes that's 30 years of experience, but not necessarily what the kids want now. Right. So you got to go, all right, well, that's kind of his niche. How far can I take that? Can I go the extra mile with the Vector Stock? And then it just became, oh my gosh, you're growing your business and you have to do separations and you have to do artwork proofs and you have to do all this stuff. And then that's when we just decided to go with Graphic Source. And that's been, I think my wife cringed at the thought of paying $2,500 for an artist. And, it's like she absolutely loves the guy. Yeah. I mean, she chats on Skype with him all the time.
So that one guy is your guy then?
I got one guy and his supervisor, and basically they work together. And not only do they do my artwork and my separations, and a lot of times they're just doing vector conversions. Customers bring in pencil sketches, right? Can you create this into a drawing or into a screen printed shirt? Well, it's going to cost this much to do that, right? And we do the vector conversions for them through Graphic Source, and but yeah, all of those resources are available to us. Plus Thai art, plus this guy is like, all right, what else can I do? I've got some free time, and since he's full time, I'm like, all right, build our online stores. Can we teach you how to build an OMG store? Yes, teach me how to build an OMG store. So now he's building OMG stores, so we don't even have to do that anymore. The sales girls would build that out. So we just go, hey, build an OMG store this, OMG store that. And now he's figured out how to go into bulk actions and do stuff that we've never even figured out doing because, right?
He thinks differently.
He thinks completely differently. And it's, and so game changer for us, like a Stampinator was for us, And that's just been in the last month and a half. Now, not everybody has that success, and a lot of people are like, yeah, it's easy for you to say you host a podcast, you're probably really busy, blah, 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 and all that stuff. I'm not. I mean, I had a slow month, July, end of June and July, we slowed down, you know, and I'm still paying this guy,
Yeah.
you know, and you just find stuff for him to do. Hey, create me a banner for out front. I want new window graphics. I've had a lull and I've never been able to do the window graphics for my front of my store. Here's pictures of the store. Do this for me. And so there's so much more that he can do.
Yeah.
Create social media posts. Can you do that? Yes, I can do that too. It's like crazy.
That's such a great resource. Because those are the things, like, you know, starting out when you're a one-man shop that just take all the time. I mean, like I said, I started out doing, you know, somebody would say, okay, I want a 72 Chevelle, or I want the USS Midway. All I had the ability to do back then, because computer graphics were clunky. You got to where you could set type and stuff. But yeah, you had to, you know, I sit there with a rapidograph and draw all my little French curves and compasses, and you know, and you got to make sure you didn't smear it, and all the artwork kind of looked the same. Now with computers, these guys can do everything. They can foreshorten the car, make it all bent and twisted, and it's amazing talent and you know, their inner eye, what they're coming up with and creating.
They take my mixing system and they match colors to my mixing system, right, to the standard colors of the artwork. They do they redid my entire artwork proof thing. I mean, now the printers have way more resources and it's correct because they're not only building out the artwork proof, they're changing they're working in Printavo for me.
That's awesome.
Right? So there is a bonus to that, but like, again, you said they think differently, and there's the resources are out there to help you guys. I guess that's my point.
It's like a guy that's a carpenter, you know, they're building, okay, they make a little jig to do this. It's like a screen printers. We figure out, okay, they want this weird tote bag with this weird pouch printer. We figure out a way to do it because that's what we're familiar with. And these guys are working in technology every day, and in their spare time, they figure out every shortcut key. I've never used a shortcut key in my life. I don't know what they do.
Yeah. Jackson, you got any closing thoughts?
No, I just feel like I've kind of taken a lot away from your story, and you know, finding similarities and differences between us. It's been really cool. So I appreciate you
guys.
Yeah, coming on and talking shop with us.
Yeah. And what we usually do towards the end of at the end of the podcast is we say, hey, what's your passion and purpose? Obviously, I feel like your passion is kind of the automotive side of things, but if you've got, you know, for screen printers out there, you know, have you kind of dialed in a passion for like this, or do you feel like you have a purpose or a passion for what you're doing?
Honestly, I think what I'm passionate about, what fuels me and gets me going every day, is I love being creative.
Okay.
My mind's always working on things and thinking, you know, especially now with the social media, it's caused me to think differently, and that's been a huge benefit. You know, it causes me to look at what my customers might like, what that niche might like, and it's made me think, okay, how can I implement that? You know, but it's fun. You know, every day's a benchmark, right? Like you were saying, you know, June, July were a little bit slow. Well, you know, I think everybody always has to know their numbers and look at their numbers all the time.
Yeah.
It's crucial, especially like buying equipment and stuff like
Sure.
that. But one thing I did want to say, everybody should aspire to have a shop like this.
Oh, thank you.
I've told you that before, but this is just an epic shock. Like when we moved in our shop, we were super busy, didn't get a chance to get everything set up the way it was, and lost a good employee right as we were moving. And we've never been able to get it dialed. This is what I wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, it's at the point now where we're going to have to move in order to achieve this. You guys have done such a freaking awesome job.
Thank you.
I mean, I could just sit here and read a book and relax. This is awesome. If the air conditioner was on.
We turned the air conditioning off for the podcast, and I'm sweating my butt off right now. I'm like looking at the clock. It's 86 degrees in here. And the dryers aren't running. Well, thanks again, Ken, for being on the show. You guys need to check out all the things. Where could you point everybody out there to check out the things that you've done? Can you give us
sure.
Do a plug
on Instagram, and especially if you guys are looking for good artists, our Instagram handle's @RodTees, RODTEES, and on Facebook, it's facebook.com/RodTees, facebook.com The Gasoline Soul. Those are our two niche pages if you want to see how we do our niche marketing, you know, posting things that are germane to that niche, and our website's rodtees.com.
And how many people call you Rod?
Oh man, way too many.
How many emails?
It's funny, the other day, you know how it is, you know, you got to be friends with your UPS driver. And since we moved to this new location a few years ago, we've had a different driver like every third day. It's frustrating. I don't know if the route's difficult or what, but so last Monday we had a big order coming in. We needed a bunch of digital ink as well.
Yeah.
We had like 6 different colors of ink coming in. We needed for this one job. It was all, we had all PMS matched. We didn't have time to do the mixing at our shop. And they had a substitute driver, and he delivered it to a suite like 20 spaces away from ours, and it says delivered inside. Well, wait a minute, we've been open all day, and he said signed by Rodney. And you get the call, hey, I'm really good friends with Rod. Yeah, he'll hook me up.
You know what you got to do, because you got to go, my name's not Rod, it's Hootie.
Yeah.
Because Hootie gets it all the time for Darius. Darius gets it all the time for Hootie and the Blowfish, because they think he's Hootie. So that's it. I'm Hootie. Yeah. No, I'm actually Hootie.
Yeah. When we had Marketing Works in California, everybody thought my name was Mark. So
Well, you got a 3-letter name,
yeah,
and your company's a 3-letter name plus T.
Honest mistake.
Honest, but but no, that's good. It's the niche and everything is awesome. Well, thank you guys for checking in, and thank you, Ken, for being on the show. Thank you, Jackson, for filling in for Christy.
Of course, I had a good time.
Good. And guys, if you want to check out our show and like and subscribe, you can do that at lastcallforplastisol.com and anywhere you can find podcasts, and also our YouTube page. So please like, click, and subscribe. It's going to help us out, and it'll help out our sponsors as well. So thank you guys for watching. And from everybody at Last Call for Plastisol, you going to cheers? Go grab your thing. Fake it, Jackson. Right, here we go. Ready? Cheers.